I never believed that an ordinary event like Thanksgiving could reveal so much about my family to outsiders. We seemed like a typical, close-knit group, spending holidays together, sharing memories, and occasionally bickering over dinner. But behind closed doors, things were entirely different. And today, I'm finally ready to confront my family about it. My name is Stephen, the middle child of five, which usually meant I was overlooked. Howard, my older brother, was always the favorite, the one who could do no wrong. Wendy, my younger sister, was the baby of the family, and even if she didn't always get the same attention, she was spoiled in her own way. Then there was me, the one who faded into the background, ignored. This year, Thanksgiving was supposed to be different. A few weeks ago, Mom mentioned we'd be keeping things simple this time, scaling back. You know how it is, she told us. Money's tight, but we'll still spend the day together. It'll be nice. I didn't mind at all. I was used to hearing about budget issues. Honestly, I wanted to believe her that maybe this would finally be a quiet dinner. Just the three of us, without Wendy and Howard arguing over the turkey. But the day before Thanksgiving, I got a text from Mom. "Hey, Stephen, we're canceling tomorrow's dinner. Things are tight, and everyone's staying home. Hope you understand. We'll plan something for next year." I read her message twice to make sure I understood it. We'd had tough years before, but we'd never skipped Thanksgiving entirely. Still, I figured if they didn't want to celebrate, I'd stay home and relax. I didn't think much of it after that. But as the night went on, something kept nagging at me. Maybe it was because I knew how much Mom always loved Thanksgiving. Maybe it was how strange her text sounded, like she was making sure I wouldn't ask questions. The next morning, my phone buzzed with a notification from Instagram. Wendy had posted a photo, a beautiful table set with candles, a turkey, everything perfectly arranged. The caption read, "So grateful for this family heart," and she tagged Mom, Dad, and Howard. My heart sank. I sat there, frozen, staring at the post, trying to make sense of it. Wendy was having a full Thanksgiving, and I hadn't been invited. Without thinking, I grabbed my jacket, slipped on my shoes, and drove straight to Wendy's. I wasn't sure what I was going to do, but I needed answers. If they'd left me out on purpose again, I had to know. About 20 minutes later, I pulled into her driveway and saw Mom's car and Howard's parked outside. They were all there. The whole family was inside, pretending they'd canceled dinner when they'd just excluded me. I walked up to the front door, my fist clenched, and knocked. The sound echoed in the air. Wendy opened the door, smiling like everything was fine. "Oh, hey, Stephen. Come in," she chirped, her cheerfulness too forced. I stopped at the threshold, forcing myself to stay calm. My heart was pounding, but I wasn't going to let them see that. "Hey," I said evenly. "I thought you all weren't doing Thanksgiving this year." Her smile faltered slightly. "What do you mean?" she asked, looking away. I stepped inside and looked around. The table was loaded with turkey, mashed potatoes, stuffing, green bean casserole, and pies. The air was thick with the rich, buttery smell of a feast. This wasn't a small dinner, it was a full-blown Thanksgiving celebration, the kind you only have when everything's perfect. I took a slow, deep breath, staring at the elaborate spread, then turned to Wendy, who was still standing by the door. "Mom texted me," I said calmly. "She said Thanksgiving was canceled because of money issues. Everyone was supposed to stay home." I glanced around, but it was clear that wasn't what she'd told them. Wendy blinked a few times, her mouth opening and closing like she was searching for the right words, but couldn't find them. "Where's everyone?" I asked, keeping my tone steady. She hesitated, then pointed toward the living room, where Mom and Dad were sitting on the couch, chatting. Howard was already at the table, piling food onto his plate. I walked further inside, my eyes fixed on him. Wendy froze in the doorway, silently watching as I headed toward Mom and Dad. "Hey, Mom," I said, forcing a polite smile, though my stomach churned painfully. "I thought we weren't doing Thanksgiving this year." Mom looked up from her plate, and for a moment, guilt flashed across her face. But she quickly replaced it with a fake smile. "Oh, Stephen, honey," she said in her sweetest voice. "We just couldn't cancel this year. You know how important it is. We wanted to do something special for Howard and Wendy." Her words hit me like a slap, So, you decided to celebrate without me? I asked sharply. She blinked, her eyes widening slightly, but she tried to laugh it off. It's not like that. We thought you were too busy with work and wouldn't be interested. My heart was pounding, but I forced myself to stay calm. I guess family matters, I said, but only if you're the right family member, huh? At the table, I heard Howard snicker and quickly turned to face him. What's so funny? I asked. He shrugged, a slight smirk on his lips. Nothing, just the usual drama, he said casually. Mom shot him a warning glance but stayed silent. I wasn't going to let it go. You could have celebrated Thanksgiving without me, I said slowly, locking eyes with her. But you still had dinner and didn't even tell me. Was I really that much of a problem for all of you? Mom's smile wavered, and for the first time, I saw her struggle to hide the guilt she felt. It wasn't like that, Stephen, she said weakly. We didn't want to upset you. I stared at her, my mind reeling from everything they'd done. The lies, the manipulation, all the ways they made me feel like I didn't matter. But I wasn't going to let them see my tears. Now I get it, I said, turning to leave. You don't want me here. At least be honest next time. As I stepped outside, I heard Wendy's voice calling after me. Stephen, wait. But I didn't turn back. This was just the beginning. I didn't look back as I walked out the door. Honestly, I didn't even know where I was going. I just needed to be alone. It was time to think. It wasn't just about missing Thanksgiving or being left out of dinner. It was the betrayal, the lies, the way they always treated me like I was nothing. As I drove home, it hit me all at once, like a punch to the chest. I'd spent years helping them, paying bills when Dad lost his job, babysitting Wendy's kids when she needed a break, even taking out a loan to buy Mom and Dad a car after their old one broke down. They'd been talking about needing a new car for months, and I thought buying it would show them how much I cared. But sitting alone in my car that day, the truth crashed down on me. That car wasn't a gift. It felt like a huge mistake. Why should I keep helping people who clearly didn't care unless they needed something? The Thanksgiving betrayal wasn't the first time they'd made me feel invisible. Right then, I made a decision. I wasn't buying that car. I was done being the loyal son, the one who fixed their problems, the one they could always lean on when things went wrong. From now on, they'd have to deal with their issues without me. I grabbed my phone and typed a message to the dealership. I'd already put down the initial payment, but the final papers hadn't been signed. I'm canceling the deal. I'm no longer planning to buy the car, I wrote. I stared at the screen for a few seconds, realizing the weight of my decision, and felt free, almost like a kid again. For the first time in a long time, a huge weight lifted off my shoulders. I felt like I was finally in control of my life. Now they'd have to solve their problems on their own. The next day, my phone lit up with a call from Mom, the one I'd been expecting. I let it ring a few times before answering. Stephen, she said, her voice softer than when I'd left the night before. What's going on? I haven't heard from you since yesterday. I tried not to let my anger take over, but I felt it simmering beneath the surface. Oh, not much. Just thinking about some stuff, I replied evenly. She paused for a moment, and I could hear her breathing heavily, like she was searching for the right words. I know last night was tough, she said slowly, but we really didn't want to upset you. You're always so busy. We thought it'd be easier if you didn't feel guilty. I clenched my jaw. So you lied, I said sharply. You made me believe everyone was staying home. You didn't even ask me to come. I'm not stupid, Mom. She hesitated again, like she wanted to explain. But then the conversation shifted. Stephen, about the car, she asked cautiously. What's going on? We heard you canceled it. My stomach tightened. So they already knew. Yeah, I did, I replied calmly. I just don't think I want to do it anymore. There was a long silence. Then she asked, why, Stephen? I wanted to tell her everything. How they lied, manipulated me, made me feel like I was only needed when no one else was around. But the words caught in my throat. I couldn't say it. Not yet. I just don't think now's the right time, I said instead, my voice colder than I intended. She clearly wasn't buying it. I could hear anger creeping into her tone. You're really going to do this after everything we've done for you? She snapped. My frustration surged, but I stayed firm. I'd made my decision, and I wasn't backing down. I'm sorry, I said quietly, but this is better for me. Her voice wavered as she spoke again. So, you're saying you don't want to help us anymore? I wasn't sure if I felt angry or sad. It seemed like she was using guilt again. The same old tactic, but this time, I wasn't falling for it. No, I'm done, I said firmly, surprising even myself with how final it sounded. The line went quiet for a moment, but this time, the silence felt heavier. When she finally spoke, her voice was sharp and cold, nothing like the sweet tone she usually used. You can't just walk away from your family, Stephen. You owe us, she hissed. I took a slow breath, trying to stay calm. I'm sorry you feel that way, I said, but I can't keep pretending everything's okay. You never asked if I wanted to be part of this family. You just assumed I'd always be there when you needed something. I was done. Another long pause followed. I almost thought she'd hang up, but just as I opened my mouth to say something else, she spoke again. Fine, she said sharply. Don't help us, but don't come running back when you need something. I nearly laughed at the absurdity of it. I guess we'll see, I said calmly, then hung up. That conversation was over for good. The fallout came quickly. The next time I saw Mom and Dad was at a small family gathering, a typical Sunday meetup. They'd planned to talk things out. As soon as I walked through the door, I knew something was off. Mom and Dad were sitting at the kitchen table, staring at me. Howard and Wendy were there too, but neither of them even glanced my way. Stephen, Dad said dryly, we need to talk. I didn't sit down. I stood by the door, arms crossed. Talk about what? I asked bluntly. Mom's voice was tense, laced with anger. You've really disappointed us this time, Stephen. We thought you were responsible. We thought you understood what it means to be family. I raised an eyebrow. Funny hearing that from you, I said. Wendy snorted loudly from the side. Don't even start, Stephen, she snapped. You're the one blowing this out of proportion. Howard chimed in, his voice dripping with disappointment. You could have just told us the real story, Stephen. But no, you had to turn it into your personal drama. My blood pressure spiked. What a selfish jerk I am. For not being the one who lied about canceling Thanksgiving, I said coldly. I didn't think I needed to justify myself. But if you want honesty, I'm tired. Tired of always coming to your rescue. Tired of being your backup. I'm done. Mom's face twisted with something between shame and fury. You're being ridiculous, she snapped. I disagree, I shot back. You just didn't like that I finally stood up to being sidelined. Don't make this harder than it needs to be, she barked. You'll regret throwing away everything we've built, Stephen. I'm not throwing anything away, I countered. I'm just done giving when I get nothing in return. You'll figure that out when it's too late. And just like that, the distance between us became a wall. The days that followed felt like stumbling through thick fog. Every time I checked my phone, there were missed calls, voicemails, and endless texts from Mom and Dad. They were desperate to pull me back, desperate to fix what they'd broken, but the harder they pushed, the clearer it became how much they'd relied on me to keep them afloat. I wasn't letting guilt drag me back into that toxic cycle. A few days after that awful scene at their house, I got a text from Mom. We're so sorry, Stephen, she wrote. We were under a lot of pressure. We just wanted things to be simple. Please, can we talk? I didn't reply. I stared at the message for what felt like forever, my finger hovering over the keyboard. What was left to say? They hadn't changed, and deep down, I knew they never would. Still, the familiar guilt twisted my stomach into knots. I'd always been the one holding the family together, the one keeping things from falling apart, but standing firm in my decision. I ignored that old voice inside me. The next morning, when Mom showed up at my door, I wasn't even shocked. That's how they operated, forcing me to listen, trying to break through. She had a way of framing her problems as mine, wrapping them in guilt I didn't deserve. I opened the door, arms crossed. What do you want? I just want to talk, she said softly. I know you're upset, but we can work this out. Please, Stephen. We're your family. We need you. I couldn't believe how easily she slipped into victim mode, but I kept my face impassive. You need me, I repeated. That's all I am to you. Her eyes filled with tears. You've always been the one who understood, Stephen, she said, her voice trembling. You've always held us together, and now you're pushing me away. I don't understand why. Her words cut deep. But this time, I wasn't backing down. Maybe because you never really saw me, I said, my voice steady. You only saw what I could give you, my time, my money, my help. Like it was my duty to drop everything whenever you needed something. I'm done being your safety net. She wiped a tear rolling down her cheek. Please, Stephen, she whispered. I'm not trying to use you. I'm just overwhelmed with bills, your father's health, everything. It's too much. I just want things to go back to how they were. I miss my son. For a moment, I almost gave in. I saw the fear and desperation on her face, clinging to her words like a lifeline. But I reminded myself why I'd made this choice. The lies, the manipulation, the way they made me feel like it was my job to carry the family's burdens. No, Mom, I said, shaking my head. You don't get it. It's not about me abandoning you. It's about how you treated me. You only saw me when it was convenient. I'm not your backup plan anymore, and I won't be. Her face twisted, and I could tell my words hurt her. But I didn't feel guilty anymore, not this time. This wasn't about fixing her problems. It was about fixing myself. She didn't back down, though. She switched tactics. Please, Stephen, she pleaded. You know we've always supported you, and now when we really need you, you're walking away. Is that what you want? I didn't miss how we've always supported you was the same line she always used to guilt me into giving in. It was a tactic designed to make me feel indebted, even though I'd always been the one holding them up. And just when I thought she couldn't sink lower, she played her final card. Your father, she said, her voice trembling slightly. He's not doing well, Stephen. The doctors say he might need surgery soon. He's really struggling. Don't you want to be there for him? Her words hit me harder than I wanted, and guilt started creeping in again. I couldn't just ignore Dad's health. The thought of him going through something serious without me made me feel sick. I didn't want to be the person who abandoned them when they needed me most. But then I remembered they'd lied before. They lied about Thanksgiving. They lied about everything. They didn't care how I felt. They just wanted to use me when it suited them. I wasn't falling into that trap again. I took a slow breath. I'm not destroying myself for you anymore, Mom, I said firmly. I've been through this before and I'm not doing it again. If you want to fix things, you'll have to do it without me. Her face went pale. She was out of words, out of tricks. Her game was over, and she knew it. She stood there silently for a moment, and for a second I thought she'd start begging again. But she didn't. Instead, she straightened her back. Fine, she said coldly. If that's what you want, don't come back when you realize you need help. Don't expect us to be there when you see you've thrown everything away. I stared at her, my chest tightening, but I'd made my choice. Without another word, she turned and walked away, casting one last pleading glance over her shoulder, a desperate look as if silently hoping I'd change my mind. But I did. The days that followed felt like walking a tightrope, balancing between guilt for cutting them off and the relief of finally standing up for myself. It didn't take long to see they weren't done, though. A few days later, Wendy called. Stephen, she said, her tone sharp, you've really messed everything up. Mom and Dad are heartbroken. You're tearing this family apart. Are you seriously going to keep pushing them away? I couldn't help but roll my eyes. Wendy, you know exactly what's going on, I said, keeping my voice calm. You saw it all. You were part of it. I'm done bailing them out. Don't you dare blame us, Wendy snapped angrily. They've always been there for you. You can't just throw everything away because you're freaking out over one holiday. It's not just Thanksgiving, Wendy, I said, my voice firm. I'm tired of being treated like I'm nothing until they need something. I'm not letting them control me anymore. She went quiet for a second, probably stunned by my response. You're making a huge mistake, Stephen, she said bitterly. You'll regret this. Just wait and see. Maybe she thought I'd regret it, but I could see what was happening. They weren't going to give up easily. Their desperation would only grow stronger. I wasn't ready for everything that was coming. But I knew one thing for sure. I'd made my decision, and this time, I wasn't backing down. The next few weeks passed in a haze. Texts, calls, and uninvited visits from relatives kept coming. Everyone had an opinion, thinking they knew best, but none of them truly understood what it was like to always be the one holding the family together. It was exhausting. They just expected me to come running back whenever things went wrong. I wasn't doing it anymore. On a chilly Saturday afternoon, when Mom showed up at my door again, I wasn't even surprised. She had a habit of appearing unannounced, as if she believed enough pressure would finally make me cave. I opened the door, and for a few moments, neither of us spoke. I could see it in her eyes. A strange mix of anger, sadness, and something else, desperation. She took a deep breath and started talking, her voice trembling slightly. "I can't keep doing this, Stephen," she whispered. "I can't pretend everything's okay anymore. Your father's health is getting worse and I don't know how to handle it. I'm sorry. I know we've made mistakes, but you're my son, and I need you." It felt like a punch to the chest, the kind that would have broken the old me. The old me would have rushed to comfort her, to fix everything, but I wasn't that person anymore. "Mom," I said, my voice calm, "I can't keep giving up everything for you. I've spent my whole life doing that, and I'm done. You say you need me, but you never think about what's good for me. You never have." She froze, letting my words hang in the air. After a long pause, she stepped back, her shoulders slumping. "So, that's it?" she asked. "You're really going to abandon us like this?" I didn't answer right away. The silence between us was heavy, filled with years of pain that had brought us to this point. There was no going back. "I'm not abandoning you, Mom," I said quietly. "I'm finally standing up for myself." She didn't respond. She just turned and walked away, leaving me standing there, wondering if she'd ever understand why I made this choice. A few days later, Wendy texted me. "Mom wants to know if you saw the pictures of the new car. She's surprised you didn't help pay for it." I stared at the message for a long time, unsure how to respond. There it was again, another attempt to guilt me back under their control. I didn't reply. I had nothing left to say. In that moment, I made my final choice. I took the money I'd been saving, the money I'd planned to spend on their car, and bought something for myself instead. It wasn't expensive or flashy, but it was mine, something I was proud of, something that didn't come with guilt. That night, I hung out with friends, celebrating the fact that for once, I'd put myself first. It felt strange at first, almost foreign, but as the evening went on, I realized it was what real freedom felt like, and that was the point. In the end, Mom and Dad never apologized. They never came to terms with what happened, but it didn't matter anymore. I'd set my boundaries, and though they didn't like it, I wasn't going to let their disappointment or anger control me again. So, what do you think? Did I do the right thing by finally choosing myself? Or should I have tried harder to fix things? I'm curious to hear your thoughts.